Okay, folks, it is about that time. We're going to get started with the talk. But first, does anybody want to share, just quickly, briefly, a distilled version of some of the answers to the questions that you guys were asked? I heard some very interesting discussions. Shawnee? Go ahead and use the microphone over there, yeah.
So what's currently your greatest inspiration for whatever has our attention or what we're working on? And what was really cool is that we have somebody who writes music, and so for him it was life really inspired him. For me, personally, I tell stories of community, so untold stories really inspire me. The untold stories of people within community, that is my biggest inspiration. And Ashley, you shared yours, which was really cool to me, which was your greatest fear and your greatest inspiration, which is the one that you're doing everything for. And whether or not they will hear what the song that you were created to sing, or whatever you were supposed to produce, that would affirm them and see them and help them to be recognized and loved.
Yeah,
so I thought that was pretty awesome.
It's kind of like FOMO, only like FUMO, fear of others missing out. So what she says, my greatest inspiration is also my greatest fear, and it's the one person out there who misses out on something that I have to offer because of maybe some doubt that caused me to not do everything that I could to make sure that I honored what I was put here to do. Andy, you had something you want to share?
So I won't share the other ones from the table. If you guys want to share your own, you can. But I don't feel like I own those stories, and so I'll just tell mine, which is I work with technology as a technology salesperson, but I'm also I have a degree in education, and so I spend my spare time going around the world and teaching technology to students and other collaborators, and many of them have gone on to do really fabulous, life-changing things with the technologies, and so my inspiration is my students' success in those instances, and the thing that I'm trying to do with my work that could be beneficial to society, or what I would like to see changed in society, is a little smaller scope, which is I'd like to use my effort to create spaces in this community where people can be professionals and make a living being professionals at the thing that they're trying to do. So I feel like that's something that is important for the community.
I love the mind of a creative. You know, even somebody who has a technical mind and a technical career, the creative part of you seeks the intangible objectives. You know, it wasn't the performance of your students, it was the success of your students. And that just tells me that you care about the human being. So welcome to Conversation Piece. We call this a creative mixer series where we recruit creatives to find their role in designing and creating a new Flint. Do you know why we start 15 minutes late? Because creatives are always late. Now, that is not to shame the way that an artist's mind works. It's actually a celebration of how we're wired. Because why are we late? We're late because I saw those flowers on the side of the road and I had to stop and take a picture of them with my phone and do the filter thing and spend time on something that really grabbed my heart. I'm late because I ran into somebody that I know at the grocery store and I had a slightly more meaningful conversation with them than our society trains us is the normal interaction between human beings. Creatives experience the world a little bit differently, a little bit more deeply. We're called oversensitive. We're shamed for how we're wired. And I think we need to just adjust the perspective and celebrate those things. So that's why we start 15 minutes late, so that you guys can wander in a little bit art drunk. That's okay. Like, the way that you're made is okay. I was sitting across from this influencer in Nashville a few weeks ago, and it was one of those situations where I couldn't believe I was talking to this person. I was just really, really fortunate to be able to have this conversation with this person, and they were so captivated by the idea of Flint. What's going on in Flint? And you probably hear that wherever you go outside of Flint. They want to know about the water crisis. They want to know about the crime, the unemployment. Everybody's talking about Flint. But he asked me another question that really grabbed my heart. He said, what's Flint going to look like in 5 years? And I said, whatever we decide it looks like. That's why we're here. We're not going to just magically stumble into a new Flint in investing in things that we see trending or looking to what Flint should be because of the past. We get to create this place. And creative people are going to lead the way. I fully believe that, because we're the ones that are in the line of work of dreaming up the impossible and making it real. We get to imagine things internally and then make them real externally. That's such a cool way to live life. So tonight, I want to talk with my friend Dan Bennett, and a little bit about him. He's not just a marketing guy here to give you marketing tools. The reason that he's speaking here is because he looks a little bit deeper. He's not just video, design, web. He's what's the heartbeat behind the thing that needs to be communicated. What's the story? You familiar with story brand? I know that's kind of a current thinking in marketing, is what's the story that you're telling? Well, Dan is very concerned with what story you're telling, but moreover, who's telling the story? The creative person behind the brand is important to him. And he's done work with Hasbro, Harley-Davidson, Anheuser-Busch. He had a really cool project with Camaro that gave him unprecedented access to them. And it's not just because he's skilled. It's not just because he's experienced. It's because he cares. He cares about not just the work, but the people behind the work. So that opens doors for him. And I would love for him to share more about who he is and what he does. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Bennett. Hey, Dan. Aww. Welcome. So you're Flint, born and raised?
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Sir.
So
yes.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
In a nutshell, as far as who I am as a person, someone who grew up without anything by a single mom, but she was really good at not letting us know that we were broke. So it was a great childhood that I could come to respect for many different levels and reasons later on. And went into the engineering field because I was good at it, hated it, did a little soul searching after I left that industry and found out that design was what I loved about engineering. And then I just went full tilt. Being in a band and touring and those sorts of things gave me a lot of tools because we had to do everything ourselves. And by that I meant I had to do everything myself. So our merch, web, booking, everything came through me. And as a form of necessity, I was able to hone some skills I really didn't know I had before that. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Hey, just real quick, why Flint? Why did you decide to stay in Flint? You've done consultation all over the place. Why are you still here?
You know how many times I've seen speakers talk about growing up here and coming back here? It's another version of that same story. It really is. I lived in Owasso for a little while. I have rental property out there and a little bit of business out there. Actually, the owners of Foster were little tykes that used to come into my coffee shop, so I love seeing this place thrive. And then I came back here, and even though a lot of my work does happen outside of Genesee County, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's just an unexplainable portion of Flint that just kind of sinks its teeth in.
It's really special, isn't it?
It is.
It's a special
It is.
tone. So I love your philosophy. Get off the couch. Would
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. For tonight, because some really special things are going to happen a little bit later on. Hashtag get off the couch, Flint. Write it down, put it in your phone, try and remember it. I'll say it again later. But really what it comes down to is I got a moniker called the Antipreneur. I do a lot of videos with that moniker. And it doesn't mean anti-entrepreneurship. It means I'm just personally kind of rough around the edges, a no BS type of dude. I hate people saying there's a silver bullet, a magic pill, come to this conference and all of a sudden you're going to sell a lot of real estate, yada, yada, yada. So along those lines, I want people to not leave here inspired. Now, if you are, that's awesome. But I want people to leave here and feel guilty.
So you don't want people to leave inspired. You want them to leave feeling guilty.
I want them to feel guilty.
Talk about that.
Yeah. It sounds like a negative thing, but really what I want is 4 days from now, one of you to be sitting on your couch. And I'm sorry, it's got to be this mug, but picture this mug and be like, man, that Dan guy said the next time I have a great idea, I need to actually tell someone about it. Maybe make a post. Maybe film myself, even though I've dreaded getting in front of the camera. And get off the couch. Even if you don't get off the couch, that's on you, but I want you to feel guilty about the fact that you didn't.
So that's very close to my answer to the question, what's my greatest inspiration? My greatest inspiration is also my greatest fear. I'm driven by the idea that somebody out there needs to experience what I have to offer. Is that similar, you think?
Yeah. I'm a musician as well, although not of your caliber. But I remember those feelings well while writing, while recording, while trying to get people to come to shows. It's something that's fun to talk about right now because I'm in a room full of creative people. But I'm sure a lot of you guys have entered into conversations where the other person looks at you blankly and has no idea what you're talking about because you just have this inherent need to create and put it out into the world.
We can't not do it.
At all.
We can't not. How many can you relate to that? You can't not create. I mean, that's a thing. So you have 3 specific topics that you want to address today. We're going to impart a lot of information. And I love this because Dan has so much to offer. Let's talk personal branding.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of view it as like a sandwich. One piece of bread is personal branding. I can't not talk about it, but I'm not going to deep dive into it. The other piece of bread is 1 minute media, which we'll talk about in the end, which is just what it sounds like. 60 seconds or less video, getting your story out. And in the middle is going to be the bulk of the sandwich, which is the power of video. One thing I want to hit on, along with get off the couch, is dig 1 layer deeper. And we're going to come back to that towards the end as well. All I mean by that is like the old cliche of an onion. It's got so many layers of skin. Just whatever you're doing normally right now in business as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur, even someone who's just trying to inspire other people to do what they want to do creatively, is literally just dig 1 layer deeper. Whatever your normal practice is, again, picture this ugly mug and be like, oh, that Dan guy said just 1 layer deeper. So if you're interacting with a potential client and they got some questions and you answer them, you think you did great, dig 1 layer deeper. Find out one more thing that matters to them or to the project and start implementing that throughout your life.
So, and I'm not texting my mom. I've got some notes on my phone. Isn't it amazing the society that we live in today? These things do everything for us. It's like Star Trek. So personal branding, why is that important? Well, first of all, what is it and why is it important?
I have found that a lot of people have a lot of different ideas of what this is. So this is by no means an end-all be-all, but I kind of call it like the lawnmower effect. The guy that goes and cuts the lawn, a lot of them have green fonts on their card, or a little guy pushing a mower with grass clippings flying, and a lot of them look all the same. So what it comes down to a lot of times is your neighbor being like Bob's Lawn Care Service. Every time he's supposed to be here, he's here on time. He was late once and he gave me 10% off. Grass is always cut at a diagonal. It's gorgeous. Use Bob. That's personal branding to me. Everyone's got the card. Everyone knows that you do landscaping and lawn. But now you know Bob is really, really good at what he does, and you can trust him to do what you need for your lawn.
Bob's a character in your story now.
Yep. And I use that all the time, from individuals and startups all the way up to CEOs of large companies, because everyone can relate to that. In a generic form, it's word of mouth. But in a real form, it's Bob, the guy that cuts your lawn. And you love him for it.
So would you say it's fair to define personal branding as the moment when branding becomes personal?
I like that.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it that way. I like that. Yeah, because some of the stuff I'll try and go over real quick that I usually talk about when I speak about personal branding is right along lines with that, which is start thinking of yourself as a brand. If someone says your name to someone else, what do they think? Now, there's going to be a lot of cases where they don't know you, and that's okay, and that's where hopefully your friend has good things to say about you. But in your circle, if someone hears your name, what do they think? Do they think quality? That person really cares about me? They're usually late to everything, but they're always on time to my thing because they know it's important to me. That, to me, is kind of what personal brand is on a very small scale, which is what does someone think when they hear your name? If you seem fake, this goes along with it, if you seem fake in real life and branding and anything, people won't buy into it. And with everyone having so much of themselves exposed right now, you generally, for anyone, whether it's like dating or trying to hire a company to do something for you, you can generally find out as much as you need there. And because of all that information being so accessible, in my opinion, it's getting easier to weed out the BS. It just really is, because you can look at 4 companies and one looks like they got their stuff together, social proof, recommendations, someone used them, and boom, you're locked in. So just like you wouldn't want to be fake as a person, the representation of your company or your personal brand should be just as solid.
So in a word, authenticity.
Absolutely. I like that too, yeah.
So what are some ways that we can make authenticity a core value when we consider personal branding?
Care. Care. It's so easy, especially in my field in the sense of marketing. It's so easy to go in, look at what someone's doing, tell them what they need, sell them a package, and walk out the door. If all I cared about was money, that's all I would do, is just stack up a big pile of those clients and just give them things, But when you actually care, which is something that, thank God, is inherent in me, I can't not. I end up in a room with someone for 4 hours when it was a half-an-hour meeting, and I find out everything I need to know to tell a great story. So, yeah, care, I think, is what I would say to that.
So when people compliment me about what I do, I don't downplay it, but I just let them know that I can't not.
Yep.
It's not so much that I'm skilled. It's not so much that I'm talented. I just show up and care. And I think you're exactly right. Like in a word, that's how authenticity is executed. You just show up and care. Now, I think that implies a lot of personal trust. You got to trust yourself, which means you have to have cultivated trustworthiness in yourself. But when you do that, you can walk into any room in any situation and show up and care and know that you have something to offer that room.
Totally, yeah. You don't have to raise your hands, but in your mind, I want you to raise them as high as you can. Who in here is good at what they do? I love that you raised your hand for real. Like, who in here is good at what they do? It's okay to be good at what you do, right?
It's okay to be awesome.
That's all right. That's right. The next point I want to make is some things cost money. Education costs money, going to conferences. But there's so many cool things like this that you can become a part of and get involved in without spending anything and reap benefits from. And just being in here answering those 2 questions at the beginning and talking with people from different industries and stuff, you can really hone your skills in what you do. Just always remain a student of your own industry. And as you sharpen your brand, opportunities will just show up. And I remember being angry hearing people say that. Just do the thing, be good at it. Enough time goes by, opportunities will show up. I'm like, shut up, I'm hungry, I don't have food. Like, I need opportunities now. And here I am in front of people saying the exact same thing. As you hone your skill, as you become better at communicating with other people, as you start solving people's problems, opportunities are going to arise. Sometimes they pop out of nowhere, and sometimes you go after them. I saw a cool series with a guy I've been introduced to once, did a little digging. I'm like, I would love to be a part of this, and just threw in my hat. Hey, if you ever are looking for a speaker and you ever want someone to talk about digital marketing and video and stuff like that, I would love to be a part, and it's an opportunity that presented itself, and described it.
I think there's something to be said for being able to more and more clearly and earlier identify opportunities. I think so many of us have seen opportunities. We just didn't know what they were or how to make use of them. And I think the path to get there is not just honing your craft, but realizing that honing your craft is probably inseparable from honing yourself. I'm gonna say it. Know your worth. Examine who you are, what you have to offer, and invest in yourself. Be a person who recognizes that they have a story worth hearing.
Yeah.
And then, as part of that, hone your craft, get better at telling your story.
Absolutely, yeah. It's so funny. You say so many things, even outside of this environment, that I've either already been thinking about or that are kind of questions or answers to questions that I've been kind of thinking about myself. I love that about you. Another one I'm going to throw in quick is be honest about your shortcomings. And I say that because I'm a self-deprecating type of dude, and I think it's funny. I love when other people do it. It's not for everyone, but if you're honest about your shortcomings, people can relate to you, and we're in the people business, right? Like, we're throwing out all these cliches, man, but the older I get and the more I get involved with business and developing story, the more cliches actually hold some weight, and they're not just things you say anymore. So be honest about your shortcomings. If you went and did a pitch and bombed, make a video about it. Put your face on a camera. Put it out to some people and be like, I'll tell you what not to do when you're pitching a boardroom full of suits. This. And you have no idea who you're going to impact, who might skip that mistake because you said it, who was getting ready to do that exact thing and thought it was a good idea. Who knows? But be open about your shortcomings, even if it's just in a small conversation with a friend. And then a bonus for personal branding. Speak like this, in a room, at a networking event, anywhere you can get eyeballs, online, doesn't matter, start speaking. A year and a half ago, someone told me that, who's in a position that I want to be in. And I'm like, dude, I'm behind the camera. Like, I'm good, you know? Like, I'm fine. Slowly came around front. That's a little bit safer, even though the internet is a troll-type place. You can put it out and kind of like turn your eyes away until you get some feedback. Then start speaking publicly. And technically, if you speak at all in public, you're a public speaker, but start putting yourself out there. Start getting involved with things of this caliber. And it's going to force you to really have to know what you're talking about, because not only do I have to look at, you know, the faces that are looking at me, but I might get some questions afterwards. And if I don't have answers to them, my credibility's gone. So I encourage everyone as like a bonus way of personal branding to start speaking.
So, standing out. Tell me about your approach to making sure that you're getting the engagement, getting the attention, getting the market share that, frankly, you deserve if you know your brand has a lot to offer. Talk to me about building the box.
Before I dive into it, and this is short, you guys are either going to love or hate this. It probably won't be in the middle. But be yourself, right? We've been being told this since we were in kindergarten. Be yourself. I got told by someone who is very wealthy, very knowledgeable, at the head of their game, I love the fact that you go left when other people are going right, Dan. And I'm like, actually, all I do is go straight on my wiggly little path because it's the only thing I know how to do. But everyone else is going right. And it makes me look like I'm going left. But I'm really not that smart. I'm just doing the only thing I know how to do, which is wear a t-shirt and a beard, not apologize to anyone in a suit, show up to things like this, share my heart, and hope that people can, you know, just grab onto it and go from there. But yeah, it's like, that's a way that I stand out, is literally by trying not to do what everyone else is doing. It works.
It sounds so Oprah, right? But it's
Right.
Absolutely true. Be yourself.
Hearing myself saying it is like, bleh, but man, because then you can pour everything into it because you already know how to be yourself. You don't have to learn some new skill. So you pour everything into it, pedal to the metal, and you get traction after that. It's a fun thing. If you haven't tried it, do it. It matters. And that's where things like Larry the Cable Guy, Get Her Done, that came from being himself, and then it became a hook, and then it became why he's in a movie. Like, that's not the best comedy in the world by any means, but he was just doing his thing, and it caught on, you know? So, like, yeah, be yourself. As bland as that sounds.
So build a box. What is that?
Build a box. Okay, so I run across all the time in consultation, just normal conversations with other creatives where people talk about how noisy the landscape is, especially in marketing, but just in general. And whatever room I'm in when I talk about this, I picture it. I'm like, all right, imagine 1,500 people in this room right now, shoulder to shoulder, can't hardly move, and everyone in this room does exactly what you do. So I always go to photography. I'm so sorry. I know, I'm sorry. My friend's an amazing photographer. I always go to photography because everyone can relate to it. And the reason they can relate to it is because of these things right here. So if you're a photographer, if you need any photography done, if you're a photographer and this room's full of 1,500 photographers, it's really, really easy to be like, you know what? Why even try? Like, how am I going to stand out amongst all these people? If you got a smartphone, you're a photographer. Like, no one's going to care about my framing and my attention to detail and all this stuff, and why even try? I run across that a lot. And I swear to God, I'm not an optimist, but a lot of the things that I say seem like I'm taking the negative and trying to flip it. And that's exactly what I think in that situation. So if there's 1,500 photographers in here, and they're all trying to start the latest trend or be like someone else or whatever, and you're just in the corner building a box. 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot cube, building a box. Consult with other people who have built boxes before. Buy nails that are meant to be put into wood, not drywall. Go to Home Depot for your hammer instead of the dollar store. Take your time and build a box, and when you stand on top of it, instantaneously you're head and shoulders above 1,500 other people. Now that's not the end of it. 100 other photographers are going to be like, oh, I see what you're doing there. And they're going to build a box too. And that's okay because competition's okay. But what they didn't know is while they were building their box, I was building my second one. So I always look at that kind of noise, within like personal branding as the reason that you be yourself, do your thing, hone in on the skills that you already have while developing the skills of your craft is really just to build a box and stand out. Because when I look at that much noise, I look at 1,500 people screaming and one person whistles, and you're like, what the heck was that? That was a different sound. No one else is making that sound. What's going on? Then you look and they're standing on a box. I just love that analogy. I'm a metaphor guy. I go down that road a lot because I love them, and it's one that I throw out a lot. If you're feeling discouraged, if you're feeling like you're in a noisy market that's filled with all kinds of people that are either doing better than you or just in your way or whatever, just build a box.
So I think it's so important to connect building a box with being yourself, because being yourself is building the box. That's essentially what you're saying, right?
Yes, absolutely.
The more and more that you're yourself, the more and more people can easily identify whether or not you and the work that you do are a fit for their needs. So that way, all 1,500 of those photographers in that room can all stand out. It's not a matter of how high off the ground you are. It's a matter of how many people can lock eyes with you. The more that you're yourself, the more easily identifiable you are as somebody that they can begin to engage with. Is that fair to say? That's the building the box.
Yeah.
So it's not about competition. In fact, you know what's really cool? There are 3 videographers involved in tonight's event. Boyd Suzuki from Changing Productions filmed a promo video that we put out on social media a couple days ago. Flint, Michigan Films, Corey Taylor and his team are here filming the event for us live, and Dan himself does video work. None of them barked about territory. Well, why would you have him do that when I can do? No, that wasn't even a thought that crossed anyone's mind. We're a community of artists, and we can all coexist. And it's more, and it becomes so much easier to do that when you're yourself, because you're going to do something that you can't do, even if you're in the same field, because everyone is 100% unique as a thumbprint. And one of the questions that I ask in my coaching is, what can you do that no one else can do? It's not arrogant to ask that question. What can you do that no one else can do? And that just pushes your mind beyond checking the box of photographer, musician, and brings you back to building the box.
Absolutely. In my field, I always just tell people or I'm thinking it because they're not open to conversation, who are barking about anything. Like, have you ever watched a movie and then saw the credits and seen 180 people involved in this, like, small budget film? Like, it takes tons and tons of people to make really great, big, creative things. So I don't have the energy to spend on caring, like, if someone else is on my turf or trying to get, in my way or whatever, because I'm so focused on my box that, you know, I guess that's kind of a side way that it helps is when you're focused on your thing, it's easy to kind of ignore what everyone else is doing. So, little side bonus, I guess.
So, finding clarity in 3 areas.
Yeah. This is the only reason that DNA Design Company is still in business, is because a natural side effect of the way that we approach things is finding clarity. Clarity in story, clarity in direction, clarity sometimes in the person who's in charge of hiring from that company. So these are just 3 areas where I find that looking for clarity is really, really important, but there's 1,000 areas. If you're just always thinking clarity, murky water's hard to swim in, right? So think of the work you're putting into finding clarity in something as like putting chemicals in the pool, and now you can see and enjoy it and get more out of it. So the first is target market. And we're using the word market and marketing, and it's kind of, even for me, like a word, you know? But really what I mean by that is don't waste anyone's time who isn't interested in what you're doing. And that's the way I look at it, is I don't want anyone to be like, this again. We've all seen commercials that we can't skip because we're watching real cable or something, and it's like, come on, man. I would never buy that in a million years. Why you wasted my time? So target market, I got a friend, mentor, and actually client too. It's this fun dynamic named Ryan Foland. And if you've never heard of him, look him up. He's a TED talker, world speaker, entrepreneur on the next level type of dude. And I'm stealing this from him. So if you're watching this, Ryan, thank you. I've watched him do his thing because as a client of mine, he's hired me to follow him around to different speaking engagements, different things like this. And he always tells people when he puts them through their process where he's trying to find a target market, I want you to tell me who your target market is, but no cussing. You can't say the A word, and you can't say the E word. And then generally people look at him like, what are you talking about, dude? And he's like, A is anyone, and E is everyone. You need to remove these from your vocabulary when thinking about your target market. All right, now tell me, without using the A or E word, who is your target market? And 80+% of the time, the first word someone says to him is, well, you know, anyone who blogs, or he's like, no. I said don't say the A or E word. And it just pulls people out of that like repetitive, I say this all the time thing to, oh, shoot, you're right. Well, I mean, I guess it's more for like everyone who sports blogs. No, you use the other one. Like, we really need to hone in on what that is. And there's more to his process, but as he goes through that, it brings clarity. It's not just tell me your target market and waiting for an answer. It's helping someone actually arrive at that clarity. And I've watched him do it on dozens and dozens of people, and every time you see light bulbs go off, and they're just like, thanks. I've never had anyone actually push for clarity when they ask me about who our customers and who our target market is. So that's one, is whatever your target is, no matter what you do. You could do painting for free, you're never going to charge a dime, you're not trying to make a living out of it. Who is your target market? Who's going to benefit the most from having their portrait painted? There's a million ways you could go with it, so find that clarity.
And where does story come into play? No.
Story, actually you said it earlier, which I appreciate. Everyone has one. And it's another cliche, but I tell you what, I've been on this planet 38 years and no other human has lived a moment of my life. And
Say that again.
I've been here a long time, and no other human has ever lived a single moment of my life.
Embrace that. No one on the planet has lived a moment of your life besides you. What an empowering platform to begin to discover your worth from. Okay, I'm sorry, continue.
No, I like it. I like it. Yeah, so when I think about that, it's another one of those, you hear someone say, like, someone's always had it worse than you if you're telling a story about being bummed out or something. It's another one of those spots where I like to flip it. That may be true, but no one's lived a moment of my life, so I do have a story to tell, and that matters. And within that, going back to the dig one layer deeper, you can do that with yourself too. Like, just take a moment, get in your favorite spot. Might be a bath, might be in bed with your eyes closed, whatever. Just take a moment and dig just one layer deeper into yourself. Even if you do it all the time, be thinking, all right, what's underneath that one? I'm familiar with layer 7, what's at layer 8? And allow yourself to kind of start telling your story if you're not already. If you are already, just keep polishing your story and tell it more times than you are now. But if you're developing what your story is, know that it's important, no one else has lived it, and just dig one layer deeper into it.
I love it. One of my favorite ways to do that is to meditate. I've meditated at least twice a day since 2013, and it has been absolutely essential to knowing myself, to digging one layer deeper, and discovering that, and you said this, not only do I have a story that no one else has, I have a story that matters. That's huge. You know, this sounds so simple and so cliche. Like I said, it sounds really Oprah. Be yourself. You matter. But really, how hard are those things to truly embrace?
The duality.
When everything around you tells you that you're a piece of dirt. The voice inside your head speaks against your worth. So being yourself is such a beautiful accomplishment, and it can be really, really hard. Embracing the fact that not only do you have a story, but your story matters, that's significant work. So find your thing, find your way of digging one layer deeper. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's listening to Yanni music. I don't know what your thing is, what your method of looking in the mirror is. Maybe it's just creating your art. And when you sit with your art, you sit with yourself. But prioritize that. Part of the reason that we're here doing this speaking series is to give you permission to transition from a hobbyist to a professional. You're not a hobby. The work of your heart and the work of your hands isn't a hobby. Like our culture would have you dismiss it. Oh, that's, don't quit your day job. I guess you're allowed to have a... No, what you have to say matters. Even if you never, as Dan said, sell a painting, prioritize it. It's important. Your story matters.
Absolutely. I keep saying that every time you're done, but I literally mean I couldn't have said it any better. So this is fun. I like that we're kind of playing tennis with great ideas here.
So what's the end goal?
The end goal. So this is the third out of finding clarity. Again, there's thousands of these. This would be a good place to start. Your target market, your personal story, and the end goal. So I run across this a lot when talking with individuals, freelancers, startups. Dan, I just want to take this $30,000 a year I make at a job and get my woodworking business off the ground and be able to pay my bills. And a significant amount of time, that is the end goal for a lot of people. I just want to do what I love for a living instead of something I don't. And I always challenge it and say that's not an end goal. And a lot of times I'll let that linger, and people ask questions, or they look stunned, or they're upset with me, or whatever, but it's not an end goal. Now I'm going to do this quickly, but a real end goal is I need $30,000 in my bank account to be able to live at the comfort level that I live now. That means I have to bring $200,000 into my business because I'm going to have 2 employees, I'm going to have all these different things, and you can then start to apply real math to this thing. So at $200,000, I can do these things, and you reverse engineer that maybe back to the middle. And you're like, okay, so here it looks like to get those numbers, I'm going to need about 3 employees, and I'm going to have to do this much in sales as far as physically going out and selling my product. And then you can reverse engineer it a little further and be like, okay, my number 1 selling product is this, and it takes me 6 hours to woodwork each one of those. I'm going to have to sell this many. And when the real end goal can be reverse engineered with math backwards, you can tell if it's accomplished or something you can accomplish or not. So to me, that's an end goal. It's just one representation, but it's something that you can actually prove and do, and it's not theory anymore. So going after having your business make $200,000 in a 12-month calendar year for you to bring home 30 and quit that job you hate is, to me, a real end goal. So just bringing clarity to what your end goal is. Yes, not working a crap job and doing what I love for a living seems like an end goal, but to me, the real end goal is what's the math that's going to take to get there.
I love that. So not only do you have to identify and describe your target audience, but your target future. And I talked about this in the very first conversation piece. It's the difference between a dream and a goal. A dream is, I want a Tesla. A goal is, I want a blue Tesla with 4 doors, black leather interior. It gets this many miles per gallon, and I want to pick it up on Thursday in Columbus. Is that fair?
Yeah, because I'm already reverse engineering what you just said. What's it going to take to get to that point?
Right.
Am I available on Thursday? I don't even know. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it.
So talk to me about the power of video.
Oh, this is my favorite part, man. This is my favorite part. And the fun thing is I can look at some people running cameras and know that I'm not alone, right?
And we've got probably 10 minutes on this before we have to do your very, very special, awesome, cool surprise.
Well, all right, so I'm going to stretch out as far as I can and maybe change up the end just to get as much out as I can. The first thing I'm going to talk about is flexibility. Part of the power of video is flexibility. I'm going to be able to take what's being filmed here, and I'm going to be able to extrapolate it into all kinds of awesome content. And I'm going to be able to go back to my studio and dive even deeper into these 3 subjects, and then through gathering some of you guys' emails, if you're interested, make sure that you register for this event so I can get that stuff to you guys. I'm going to be able to maybe help in the sense that, man, that guy had some good stuff to say, but I missed half of it, da-da-da-da. Here it is. Here it is in full length. Here it is in bite-sized pieces. Here it is separated personal branding, 1-minute media, and the power of video.
It's what, 86% of all online content is video?
Right, yeah, and I love that you say that because that's absolutely true. That's got to be within 1% or 2 for sure. But the last thing I'm going to talk about, because it doesn't matter today, just in this arena, is stats. Because they're out there, they matter, especially when you're working with big corporate clients that care about every little detail. Those stats matter, but what I want to talk about is the power of video as a vehicle, as a mode of transportation to get your story from point A to point B. And I got some, I wonder if I should skip them if we're... Literal vehicles, I'll do this quick. There's kind of 4 kinds of marketing, there's 1,000, but I focus on 4. There's the written word, there's audio, there's pictures or graphics, and then video. So the written word, I think about like those covered army trucks that just take supplies from point A to point B. It's what they're built for, it's what they're good for. If someone reads a written word, their mind opens up and they're able to fill in all the visuals on their own. That's a very powerful form of marketing, but you can't always get everyone to stop and read. So it's very effective, but it's limited. Audio or voice is something that's a little newer to the marketplace. It is the oldest form of communication, sitting around a campfire telling a story in your language thousands of years ago. But as far as a marketing tool, it's a little bit newer. So I liken it to a street bike. Very nimble. It can get in and out, split vehicles, doesn't have to wait for traffic. And the reason I say that is because you can listen to an audiobook while you're driving your car on a long trip. Or you can take in a podcast while you're working out at the gym. It's just some marketing that finds really cool places to fit where other marketing can't. Thinking about graphics, which is one of my favorite forms, even though video is the top. I liken it to a Ferrari. Get your point across, as soon as you look at it, 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds. You're done. Boom. Whether it's a meme, a brand new product that's out, whatever, but it's limited. You can only tell so much story, even though a picture's worth 1,000 words. But it is limited, and it can be misconstrued very easy if there's no context with it. So you're not going to take your Ferrari in the snow or off-roading, but as far as getting that message across real quick, it's perfect for that. And then video, to me, is like a hovercraft. You can go off-road, you can go on ice, you can go on water, you can go on land. It's so versatile, it's so flexible that I kind of liken it to that. Because to me, if I had to sum it all up, the power of video is versatility.
Talk to me about the emotional connection.
Absolutely. Another quick story, because I love stories. Have a client, they got an RV lot. Building, concrete, RVs. It doesn't get much simpler. We just want to sell RVs. We have kind of a custom or patented creative discovery process, and I think it's the only reason that DNA Design Company is still in business. It's just our approach. It's weird, it works. I made it up, I didn't change it. So it's just kind of our approach is creative discovery. And sometimes with clients, especially potential clients, in the beginning, they're like, I don't know about all this touchy-feely, story. We're not trying to make a movie, Dan. We're trying to sell some RVs. I don't get why we have to have these conversations. So I push a little further, have a second meeting, find out that RV selling business owner is actually 3rd generation. Oh, that's cool. So your grandpa started it. Yeah, actually, grandpa's still involved. He doesn't run the business, but he likes to hang around. He consults. He's here Mondays and Fridays, whatever. I'm like, oh, well, there's a lineage here. This is kind of fun. All right, so grandpa's going to be here Friday. Can we have another meeting Friday? Yeah. Continue the creative discovery. Then I hear some words from grandpa. And grandpa's like, man, I tell you what. I remember buying my first RV. Crappy, but it ran. Taking my young family out, seeing Grand Canyon, Mount Rushmore, and all these amazing things that America has to offer. And we bonded, we traveled, we laughed. It was amazing. okay, so that's why you started an RV selling business, is because you had a life-changing experience with an RV? Well, yeah, that's why I started it. That's incredible. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking with grease, right? Then through more creative discovery, we find out that there's 8mm film of some of this stuff happening. Running around, being near the campground and the fire, all this stuff, like, you've got to be kidding me. So you went from, come on down to Dave's RV sales and get you an RV, to, I'm a young father with a young family who's been thinking of traveling, and it sounds like they can make it affordable for me. Man, I'm gonna go visit that place. Emotional connection, boom, right off the bat. So we don't always have to make movies out of every piece of video that we make, but if you start with that kind of at its core, storytelling can drive emotion.
It's interesting to me that watching something makes me feel seen. When I see a story told on video, I feel like I'm a part of that story myself. I feel more understood. I feel more heard. I feel seen. But I'm the one watching this thing. And I think it all comes back to connection. Marketing is connecting with another human being. And that's why we're here. It's just a mechanism by which we can accomplish something that's frankly eternal. I have a life experience. You have a life experience. Let's become characters in each other's story. Now, Dan has something really cool that he's going to do tonight. And as we transition into Q&A, as we land the plane on this evening, I want Dan to tell us what he's going to do and how it involves you.
All right, so this is a little pitchy, but I'm doing it on purpose, and it's for you guys, not me, I swear. 1 Minute Media is a newer branch of DNA Design Company, and it has came from meeting with some of the biggest Facebook ad buyers on the planet. We're talking billions, meeting weekly with executives at Facebook. And I met a couple of them that are just like real dudes. I didn't know that they were this big until way after we parted ways, and I was like, wow, they gave me the time of day, that's fun. And a lot of what they were focused on was $1 a day. One video, $1 a day, boost it, see what can happen, keep it short, 1 minute videos, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, you know what, I'm in. Like, I'm not going to completely shift everything I'm doing in my business, but I am going to pay a little bit of attention to this. So I started 1 Minute Media, which is 2 branches. One is we are creating 1 Minute Media, 60 seconds or less, self-explanatory. And we're talking about things like video, branding, marketing, entrepreneurship, a lot of stuff we're talking about today, and it's an open format. So I'm talking with people like you, I'm talking just into the camera, whatever it is, but it's 1 minute long or less, keep it brief and honed and to the point. And on the other side of 1 Minute Media is actually education for individuals, companies, all the things we've been saying all along, startups, freelancers, doesn't matter, where we actually have courses and different things to bring value to those who are trying to create some 1 Minute Media. And then the next step of that is consulting, where I'm actually meeting with people. This is where the money comes into play, and I'm solving some of their problems and helping them because they see the value in creating 1 Minute Media and they want to do it for themselves. And then kind of the ultra experience, I guess, is we're actually producing 1 Minute Media. We're getting involved in people buying the gear that they need, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I'm living proof of that. I started with nothing. And producing with them, writing with them, all these things until they get comfortable enough to take flight on their own. And that's kind of the 2 branches of 1 Minute Media, and I think we might play with this a little bit tonight, if you guys are willing.
Show us.
Yeah. All right, so there's going to be 2 parts of this. This is the first part. Raise your hand if you watch any kind of video at all. Any Netflix, any screen, any device, anything, any video at all. All right. Leave them up. I'm sorry, I should have said that part first. Leave them up if you wish that you were incorporating video a little more into what you do, a little better into what you do, honing your craft there, or just starting video at all. Okay? All right, leave them up if you have ever watched a video on how to make better video, or video at all. All right? Now leave them up if you're willing to do anything it takes, and I'm not just throwing these words out there, anything it takes to better incorporate video into your freelance, your business, your individual efforts, whatever they are, leave them up. I love that nothing wavered on that last one.
Yeah.
All right.
That's really cool.
So I'm going to go right to the end. we were going to do some 1-minute media, and I would take it home and fancy it up and splash it up and give it back to you, which I'm still open to doing. But we're going to skip that part, and we're going to go to, if you make 1-minute media tonight, there's so many cameras. I won't volunteer you guys as cameras, but I got one. I got a cell phone. There's cell phones everywhere. No excuses. If you make 1-minute media tonight, just recapping your night. It could be what you had for breakfast and how you ended up here. I'm open for interviews. He's open for interviews. We'll jump on your camera. You can do it in the corner quiet by yourself. Doesn't matter. Create it tonight and put it on whatever platform you love. Hashtag get off the couch, Flint. Just that simple. All the people who do that tonight, before you leave the building, you don't get to go home and do it and have all the privacy and stuff. You got to do it while you're here. You guys can collaborate on this as well. Get off the couch, Flint. Hashtag it that. And we are going to put those people in a pool, and then we will contact every single person who does that and basically have a very lightweight 1-minute media pitch competition. And I'm donating from my company a full high-end, bringing out all the guns, 30-second either promo or commercial. So anywhere from a $3,500 to $5,500 value here is what we're talking about. We're not going to skimp on it. If you have something that you think is important enough to put everything you have into, and you left your hands up by saying, I'll do anything it takes, make 1-minute media tonight before you leave, and hashtag it, get off the couch, Flint.
So, to reiterate, if your hand was in the air, you are saying that you have a story worthy of telling and you want to incorporate video as a mechanism of telling it. So make a video with your phone before you leave. And if you don't have video capability on your phone, Dan's got one you can use. Make a video. Talk about your experience here tonight, something that impacted you, someone that you met that you're going to keep in touch with, an idea that you now have new possibilities for. Talk about it. Capture it on video. Put it on social media. Hashtag it. Get off the couch, Flint. Dan will look through all of the 1-minute media that you create tonight and pick somebody to do a professional promotional video for free.
It can be 1 minute and 10.
So,
what's going on, everyone? Dan Bennett, DNA Design Company, here with Ashley Peacock, who graciously had me at Conversation Piece tonight. We are in the Ferris Wheel building with all these beautiful people.
Say hi, everyone.
Hey. Hosted by the ever-delicious Foster Coffee Company, and we're making some 1-minute media, man. What do you think?
We are making 1-minute media right now.
Right now. We got 40 seconds left. Look at all these cameras. I'm going to make all kinds of 1-minute media out of all the media that's being made. And someone's mom is going to be very happy.
If you're going to talk about the power of video, you'd better have a bunch of cameras in the room. Am I right?
You are right, yes. So 1-minute media, do it. It's not that hard. Shout out to my friend Josh running my camera back there. You see him? We made some 1-minute media together, and it was a blast. We still got 15 seconds.
Thank you so much, Conversation Piece. Thank you so much, Dan Bennett. Go make your 1-minute video, your 1-minute media. Hashtag get off the couch, Flint.
Do it, because it could change your life, literally. Just that easy.
That's it. So we're going to transition now into some Q&A time, and I would love to hear from some of you. If you have a question for Dan, or if you just have a question in general about what's happening in your life as a creative entrepreneur, the microphone is right there.
It's my favorite part. Please do it. It can be about marketing. It can be about video. It can be about whatever you're getting ready to say.
Hi, I'm Shawnee.
Hi, Shawnee.
I have a question. What is your proudest moment? What have you done that has impacted community and impacted your heart the most?
That's loaded.
I love that.
That's
I love
where
it.
I come
I
from.
love
Loaded
it. I love
question.
it. I did something recently, and like I said earlier, only a small portion of my income comes from Genesee County, but my heart's here. And it was in collaboration with something called BizBox. Some of you have probably heard of it, some of you haven't. And it's basically Metro Community Development down the road has unconventional lending for businesses. And instead of just giving you some money and wishing you good luck, they've got vetted vendors like DNA Design Company who will help with your marketing, making sure your books are straight, trying to give you the best shot at coming out of the gate looking like $1 million. And in doing video for that marketing, I was able to create a video series that had the SBA in it. And feel free to ask me about any of these things after we're done. Had the SBA in it, which is small business development. Had VetBiz, which is small business development for veteran-owned businesses and their spouses, which I didn't know, and that's amazing. That means if someone's off to war, someone's spouse can start a business and get help with it here. Great Lakes Women's Business Council, which is female-owned business, small business development. Factory 2, which was a fun one because I love that place and it was fun to bring them some eyeballs to their video. And I think because my heart for Flint is really mostly in development of some sort of specialty business, especially making a living, that one kind of resonated the most. Even though it's newer and we don't have a ton of feedback on it yet, just getting behind the scenes with all those different organizations really showed me that there's a lot of people right within these few blocks that want you guys to win, and I'm of the same kind of thought process, so probably that one.
So to that, I had a really impactful meeting today with the Chamber of Commerce. Now, I don't know about you, but historically, when I think about the Chamber of Commerce, I think boring and intimidating. I think not for me. As an artist trying to be a business person, engaging the Chamber of Commerce doesn't really excite me. So then I met some people who work at the Chamber, and my mind was completely changed. In talking with Lee and with Tracy, I'm discovering that there are not only resources that are a perfect fit for creative entrepreneurs, there are people behind those resources that care about us. So it's not just a bunch of stuffy old rich white dudes sitting on the 15th floor of a building. I know that's what I thought about the Chamber of Commerce. So I've got some business cards for Lee. She cares about you. She was here tonight, actually. She had to go home because she cares about her family slightly more than she cares about you. But I want to send you home with Lee's business card. Here's what you do. You call Lee and you say, I want to talk with you. Can I set up an appointment? She'll say, heck yeah. Work it out. It's 1 block away. Go into the Mott Foundation. Go to your left. Go up the escalator. You'll see this gorgeous architecture. You'll get a visitor pass, and you'll sit down with Lee, and you'll figure out how the Chamber's resources can benefit you. This is not a sales pitch for the Chamber of Commerce. I don't want you to confuse me telling you this with, they don't sponsor us. There's no agenda here other than I want creative entrepreneurs to succeed. And my mind was changed about the Chamber of Commerce being a resource that actually cares about creative entrepreneurs in this town. So come see me. As I can pass out the business cards and get you connected with some of their resources and some of their people. Shawnee.
I just want to amen that because I've been going to their classes that they have for entrepreneurs, and there's just all different kinds of classes that they offer that's super affordable, and I just have really gotten so much out of being involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not a member or anything like that, but I've been benefiting from what they're offering to the community. I really love it. I really love it a lot. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, good folks. And how many resources are there in this town that are a good fit for us that we don't even know about? That's part of why we're here, to network with each other, to share our stories and to weave one another into each other's stories so that we can learn from each other's experience. Maybe you have a resource that's going to benefit me and vice versa.
Is there anyone who was almost going to ask a question and didn't? Greg, find me.
Oh, you got to use the microphone, man. We're videoing, man. We're going worldwide. Worldwide. Was that you that ordered the smoothie back there? No? Okay. All right. I know Greg is ordering the smoothie back there.
You know I like my coffee. Greg Terry from 12 Dare Roses at Flint Local 432. As marketing keeps advancing and a lot of things are advancing it along, what do you think the future of it is going to lead to, and how willing and how fast should we adapt to the changes that come?
I love that question, and I'm not just saying that. I always tell this story, it's very quick, that I was born in 1980, so I used to ride my bike, skin my knee, come home when the street lights came on, the whole bit. And then in 94, everything changed because the internet was available inside people's houses. So I've lived on both sides of that fence and been old enough to remember both sides of it. So I completely take an old school approach to almost everything I do. The shiny new way of getting the story out, you need to hone your skills, you need to know how to use it, yada yada, but it wins for me all the time that I just go old school. Go old school. If you are young and you don't know what old school is, and I'm not saying you don't, I'm just saying if you're like, what do you mean old school, dude? Go watch some films. Go watch some old advertisements. When I got to dive into that Camaro thing at the Heritage Center and look at the original Camaro commercials and play them back real time, I not only saw, wow, this is cool, but I saw this is how they told stories then. And we told our own story based from that. So I think as things get slicker and faster and all that, we have to look at that as a tool to deliver the message and the story, but go more old school in how we're telling the story. Just like you would do if you sat here and I sat here and you're like, hey man, what do you do? I would just tell you what I do as a friend. Like, oh, this is what it is. I wouldn't get all slick and fancy and whatever. Just tell my story.
So you're saying just stick with the classics that have been sustaining for all this time and use the new stuff as accessories to add on to it?
Absolutely.
I would add to that. So, Greg, you're in the music industry. I'm in the music industry. So my analogies are maybe something that you can relate to. So Brahms' Lullaby. We've all heard that. Where have you heard it? It's not on a Spotify playlist. You didn't hear it on YouTube or on commercial radio. It's a song that everyone knows. Why? When considering marketing, yeah, you have to be up on, how do I do promotion on Spotify to get my client's track on a playlist? Stay sharp with current thinking and current mechanisms of marketing, but never neglect the eternal. He uses the term old school. I use the term eternal. What's always been and what's always going to be? For me, it's the connection between artist and listener. So then my marketing strategy becomes not finding the newest, hottest thing. Oh, I'm going to apply blockchain to my marketing now. No, it becomes, how do I get things out of the way between my artist and their listener? The strategy becomes very primal at that point because I'm focusing on the eternal. And in the case of Brahms' Lullaby, what made that song ubiquitous? Focusing on a quality melody, realizing that the purity, the simplicity of that melody is what makes that song fit in everyone's ears. So maybe for you, your marketing strategy isn't looking at distribution so much as the authenticity and the purity and the quality of the art that you're making.
Great question.
Great question, yeah.
It's something I run by people all the time, generally when they're over 21, trying to soften up an interaction with someone, especially if I'm doing an interview or something like that and someone doesn't want to be in front of a camera. You can get someone who's got $20 million in the bank, runs one of the biggest companies, in the state, and they still will freeze. Like, everyone's human. We all have our things, right? So something I do to soften that up sometimes is say, okay, say you left work and you went to the bar and you had a drink and it took the edge off and you saw some friends, you said hi, and someone saddles up next to you and they have a drink, they're taking their edge off. After a couple, they look over and they're like, what is it that you do? You're over there smiling, look like you had a good day. What do you do? The version you'll tell them is the version I want when I'm trying to pull a story out of you and then tell it to whoever you need to hear it. So I always try and think of that kind of authenticity of shedding everything that you're supposed to do and just having that bar stool conversation with someone.
Be yourself.
I know, right?
Yeah. Other questions? Do you have another question, Greg? I love your mind. I'll take whatever you got.
Okay. You mean when you're trying to target an audience, in general, do you target a demographic based off of city and state, or do you target based off of the people all around inside of it? If that makes sense.
That's a fantastic question.
Dude, that is such a great question. I'm interested to see what we're both going to say to this. I am all about, and it's a little bit like of a trendy term right now, but I don't care, build an avatar. Put yourself inside the person that's going to buy your service or your product. And don't try and make that person someone who's not going to buy your service or product. Build an avatar. So I would say the second one. Get in the mind of the person. It sounds weird or maybe hard, but it's completely doable. And once you've done it once, it's like, whoa, I actually can kind of become someone else and see what their needs might be or how they're experiencing my product or service. So I would go with B.
I'm going to speak to your industry, the music industry. I don't think you have to choose. Am I doing something that's geography specific, or am I doing something that's worldwide? Think timelines rather than choosing one over the other. Do both, but do them in a timeline. So for instance, I'm breaking an artist. Do I just all of a sudden put that artist everywhere, all over the world? Yes, but first, I build cheerleaders geographically. I get 1,000 people in their home market obsessed with them, buying every single piece of merchandise that they have, so that when we take that artist then to the next level for a national radio campaign or for some publicity or for some touring, there's a launching pad for that artist of people that will always vouch for why everyone everywhere should listen to that artist. So just maybe consider timelines rather than choosing one over the other.
I've found people that are in an establishment where they can't move, so say like a club and they only have one location, who still get obsessed with the location part of it, and I'm always pushing them the other way. Like, well, you know you're located where people are going to come, but people will drive 3 hours. I drive an hour to get my beard trimmed, and it's because of the place and the people and how they do it and how I feel when I leave there. So if you got your radius, that's great, but like, again, build that avatar. Who's the person who's going to love coming here, who's going to get something from it? You're going to help them escape their hard week of work because they get to dance it all off on the week. Whatever that is, build that thing. And to me, location always comes second. Again, we're talking about like brick and mortar and stuff, but like, yeah, it's fun, man. Just go dive inside the heads of those people.
It's relationship.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is identify who you're relating with. And the important thing about, building the culture of cheerleaders is relationship. Rather than having somebody just known everywhere as an idea, you have them known in specific places as a person. And I'm speaking about it like a musical artist. So we have the idea of Taylor Swift because we've heard her on the radio, we see what we see about Taylor Swift, but she's still just an idea. But when you consider that she's been touring since she was 15 years old, being known as a person, like she was playing acoustic gigs on the West Coast, sitting in the front row during the headliner set, knowing every single word of the song. Like she was just broing out, being known as a human being. And she did that in city after city after city after city, so that when she broke nationally, the whole country was already in love with her as a person. So the idea didn't just sell, it took.
Like it. Anyone else? I love questions. Any video questions specific? I'm sorry.
Sam. Sweet. Final question.
Thanks for those questions again, by the way. Man, solid.
Great questions, Greg.
How are you doing tonight?
Good.
One of the things I'm actually new to doing right now is business consulting, and I do marketing. One of the jobs is like marketing that they place me in. And so with being new to marketing, what would you tell someone?
You're lucky because you didn't go to school for it. You haven't been indoctrinated with a bunch of ideas. You're fresh. So what I would say is very, very carefully consult with people like us, some of the online entrepreneurs who are really famous and stuff. Sometimes you can dive into their stuff and get a little bit of ideas. Work with some of the small business development institutions that do offer these free services. But I would say you're lucky because you get to go create your own story. So whatever you think marketing is, throw that out the window. And you haven't been indoctrinated, so that's awesome. And then think of the things we've talked about tonight: authenticity, who you are, story, whatever you're representing. Find out what the core of that story is. Because it could be cupcakes or it could be grandma's recipe that's been passed down over and over and over, and that's why they taste so good. There's always a little bit more in there, digging one layer deeper. So,
I love it. What a great way to close. Sam, thank you so much. Hey, before we leave, Get your cell phones out. Cell phones are out. I love it. I love this country. So October 4th, put this in your calendar, is the next conversation piece. And we have Christina Lakey, who's going to be our guest speaker. She is a creative entrepreneur in the theatrical arts, and she is amazing. I cannot wait for you to meet her and hear more about what she does. October 4th, right here in this space. Also, go to the Facebook event for tonight, and you're going to see an Eventbrite link in the Facebook event. Go there and register. I know that you're already here and you've already been through the evening, but register, send your email address, because we have some incredible things to share with you, but only if you're on the email list. This is all free, and we're not going to sell your email address to Facebook yet. We want to give you more things for free. As Dan mentioned, he has some content that he wants to share with you through that mailing list, through the Eventbrite link. Also, Conversation Piece is growing a little branch of the tree. We're going to begin creating some supplemental content with some speakers outside of actual events that we want to share with you through that mailing list. So please go to the Eventbrite link in the Facebook event and send us your email address so that we can keep in touch with you and give you more awesome things. Thank you so much for being here tonight for the Conversation Piece. Before you leave, don't forget to create your 1-minute media.
You already got your phones out.
You already got your phones out. Just say, hey, I'm so-and-so here at the place doing the stuff with the things. Hashtag it, put it out everywhere, and you might just win a free, fully produced professional promo video.
Could change your life.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thanks.